Hi, Lade. Good evening. Thank you for joining.
Hi, good evening, of course.
I would wait for the mentors to join.
To who?
Yeah, I said the meeting is sorry, the session is meant to start by 6:30, so we would wait for the mentors to join
All right,
in.
no problem.
Okay, good day, good evening, everyone. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I guess people are trying to join, so let's still. Hi, Tolu. Good evening. Thank you for joining. I Betel. I hope I corrected. I pronounced that well. If you're able to speak, you can speak.
Yes, yes, you pronounced that well. Hey, everyone.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Lade. I know we're like 2 minutes past the time
It's
that we're
okay.
at. Okay, yeah. So
It's
just
fine.
all right. Thank you.
Hi, just let me know when you're ready for me to start.
Oh, okay. Lade, I will do that. We just have 17 participants. Yeah, and we're expecting about um we're expecting about 27 more. So we'll give the so we'll start by in 2 minutes actually. I think we'll start in 2 minutes. By 6:40 we'll start. Hi, Lade. So we would start now, and before you take the before you facilitate, I would like to introduce my name is Eniola Lade, and I'm representing CAWSTEM programs. And can anybody hear me? I just want to confirm if I'm audible enough.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, good evening, everyone. We have Lade Tawak on the call with us. So she's our facilitator for today's session. And I'll just go ahead and read Lade's bio. So Lade is a builder of people, products, and experiences. And she does this as product, UX, and CX specialist with over 7 years experience in quantitative and qualitative UX research, mixed methods, product discovery, service design, and experience design. So she has helped teams and businesses build variable, useful, and usable solutions, products, and experiences. She also helps people achieve their goals and live better. Career coach. She's also a career coach, a writer, a speaker, and a teacher. So without further ado, we would um, I would share Lade's slides now, so she can start.
Mhm. Hi, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Is it good? I'm not hearing anything back, so I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I don't know if the other participants. Hi guys, can you
You like indicate in the chats, not comments, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Cool. Okay. So thank you so much for the intro. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you for coming to listen to me speak. Before I get into it, I like to do engaging sessions. I like when people are responsive in the chats, answering the questions, because I ask a lot of questions in my talks through the process. And so I would appreciate seeing that as we go into the talk. And yeah, so today I'm going to be talking about self-promotion and personal branding and why it's important. Are you sharing the slides? I'm not seeing them. I can also share. I was going to share, but then you said you would share it, so I'm not sharing.
Okay, Lade, if you're able to, please, it would be faster if you can
Right.
share the slides. Thank you.
I will do that now and just need to find which screen it's on. Slideshow, okay, cool. Just confirm to me. I always struggle with Zoom sharing screen because I don't use Zoom often. Nice. All right, cool. So yeah, we are here. Can you see my screen? All
Yes,
right.
yes, I can.
Oh, so yes, this is how I always like to start this. I want to get a sense of where people are when it comes to self-promotion, how they think about it, what they feel about it. So in the comments, when you think about self-promotion, what are the words that come to your mind? What do you think about? And like I said, I would like to see your responses in the chat. Putting oneself out there, okay? Anyone else? Anyone else? I need to see more responses. When you think self-promotion, when you see someone self-promoting, what do you think? How do you feel? What emotions come to mind when you think about self-promotion? What thoughts come to mind? I'm seeing personal awareness, confidence killer, having value. Okay. Actually, I want to hear from Chianyem. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Can you unmute and talk to me a bit about the confidence killer? What do you mean? I don't.
Okay. Hi, good evening.
Evening.
It feels like when you're trying to promote yourself, it like kills every confidence you've ever had in yourself. Like talking about yourself to other people is like the most humiliating thing sometimes. It kills your confidence because they're like, who do you even think you are?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it,
Thanks
please.
for clarifying that. Cool. I'm not seeing there are about 20 people on this call, so I want to see more responses. What do you think when you hear self-promotion or when you see someone talking about themselves and their work, or when you have to do that? How do you feel? What do you think? Selling yourself, yeah. So how does it make you feel? What do you think about people when they do it? How do you feel about yourself when you do it? What's going on in your mind? Mixed feelings about self-branding. Can you say more about that? Write out. So I'm not asking like what does self-promotion do for you? I mean saying like when you do it, when you have to do it, what do you think about? What are the emotions you feel? What are the thoughts you have? Not what you do or what you think the benefits in, not what you think it benefits you when you do it. Just the feeling in the moment where you are sharing about yourself or sharing about your work. What are the thoughts that are running through your mind? Or when you see somebody else doing that, what are the thoughts running through your mind about that? What are the feelings that you have towards the person or towards yourself? When I think of self-promotion, I think of LinkedIn and creating a brand. Okay. Mixed feelings to get people interested, to get to really know more about the person. Okay. El Bethel, if you could write in the chat, like what are the mixed feelings? What are the feelings? What emotions? What words would you use to describe those feelings? And you can also unmute if that is faster and easier for you. Zolisva, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says the emotions I feel at first are cringe, but then I feel proud for taking the leap. Okay. Is Bethel still there? Do you want to share like what feelings? You said mixed feelings. Thanks, Zoliswa. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. Bethel says it makes me feel more confident. And I appreciate others who do, but I also feel like some people are judgmental when you promote and take initiative and change your narrative. Okay, cool. All right. So thank you all for sharing all of these things. And this is similar to what I hear often when I ask this question. I feel cringe sometimes. I feel like people are judging me. I feel proud when I do it. I feel it makes me feel confident. I'm trying to create a brand. So like these are things that I hear often. So you are not the only one who thinks this way. You're not the only person who has these fears and these concerns. And so that is why today I'm going to talk about like how to actually do that, how to self-promote, how to build your personal brand without feeling that cringy, icky, fake, like feeling like people are judging you, without all of those feelings, right? But first, self-promotion often feels this way, but there is a way to do it that doesn't make you feel like like what am I doing? I don't want to do that, or make you feel like people are judging you and all of these things, like I already said. And I've based on my experience and other people that I've observed and spoken to and people that I've worked with, right? I've noticed things that have helped shape my personal brand and shape the things that people associate me with, which is basically what a personal brand is, the things that people, when people think of you, what they associate you with. And so I have looked back on my journey and thought about how did I get to where I am today. And I noticed that personal branding was a huge part of that. But when I was doing it, I didn't know that I was doing personal branding. I was just doing what I'm going to talk about now. And it's a 3-part framework. There are 3 main elements of this framework that help you in building this personal brand and and just like building the profile that you want people to associate with you. Right. But first, why does it matter? Why is it important that you build your personal brand, that you put yourself out there, that you self-promote? The main reason that it matters is that we live in a global world and there are many people, like there are over 8 billion people in the world right now, per estimates. And how do you stand out amongst these people? I mean, obviously, you're not in the role that you're doing, you're not like quote unquote competing with these 8 million other people for all the opportunities, right? There's a segment of that number of people that you're competing with, quote unquote competing. I'm using competing in quotes because it's not like literally a competition. But how do you stand out amongst all these people? How do you find opportunities? How do you find jobs? How do you find all these things? It comes from people being able to associate you with that thing when they need it. So my 9 to 5 is in product UX, and I've built that brand because of the things I'm going to talk about, which is like creating content around it, collaborating people to create content, proposing that content, and all those kinds of things. And there are skills involved with personal branding that are very important to employers beyond just your core technical skills. So, of course, I have to be good at my work. I have to do work to then talk about that work. So self-promotion and personal branding is not about being an empty barrel or making noise and not having anything to show for it. It's about showcasing your expertise and showcasing what you have to offer in a way that connects to other people. And the approaches that I'm going to talk about are showcase skills like communication, proactiveness, those quote unquote soft skills or people skills that also matter in the workplace. Being able to communicate clearly, being able to articulate your thoughts to other people so that they can understand. Those kinds of skills are things that employers are also looking for. And when you do put yourself out there, when you create a brand for yourself, when you self-promote, when you share your work, share your learnings, then you're making it easy for people to be able to do that work for you. With the exception of this, my current job that I'm in, I've never like applied to a job before. Like oh, I'm looking for a job, so I apply and then I do an interview and I do an interview. Every other job that I've gotten before this one, including freelance opportunities, including even this speaking that I'm doing now, is a result of having connected with the founder of CAWSTEM, because I was like doing stuff and we connected over that. So it was people reaching out to me because somebody recommended me, because the person who recommended me attended a talk I gave or read an article I wrote or was in a workshop that I created. Those opportunities came to me. So in thinking about it, you can either push for opportunities or pull for opportunities, or both. So the pushing is where you're constantly like applying, talking to people, which is good. Like you should also do that. But the easier way, and the way that complements, like makes it easier for you, is the pull as well, where people are finding you because of what you've put out there, and they can contact you to say, oh, I read this thing you did, or I watched that thing you published, or somebody who attended a workshop you gave linked me up to your work, and while looking for somebody who does that, that stands you out from the rest. You're displaying competence already. Like they already know that you are competent because they've read something that shows they're competent. They've watched something, they've seen something, they've heard something that shows that you're competent. So that the pressure is less for you because you've already gotten through a barrier. They feel like they know you a bit. There's this sense of comfort, right? That is why it matters. So when you self-promote, when you share your work, it's not a thing of pride or something to be cringy about or to feel like you're selfish, because these are also some of the things that I hear, but it's about showing the value that you have, showing the value that you bring. You may be familiar with this phrase that if a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, did the tree really fall? Right? So it's like people have to know what you're doing so that they can associate with what you're doing. And it doesn't even matter if the person is not in your field, right? Some people who are recommended me for things are actually not in my field, but they see me talk about this thing a lot. And so when they think about it, if they see somebody saying that, who do you know that does this? And this happened some years back. I had been off Twitter for a while, and somebody messaged me that I should come back on because somebody had asked if I'm looking for a UX researcher who can do product management, who should I be talking to? And like 70 responses, it was just people mentioning me. And many of those people don't even know like the actual work that I do. They just know that I talk about, like they see me talk about UX, they see me work with companies, sharing the work, doing workshops, talking about what I'm learning, talking about what I'm doing, right? And how do you build your personal brand or define what you want to talk about is really up to you. There's no wrong or right answer, because at the end of the day, personal brand is how you want people to think about you, what you want people to associate with you. And so to answer that, you need to know who you are and what you have to offer. When I'm building my person, some people, they put their whole personal brand in, like everything is in one place. And that's how I mostly like am on my social media, wherever I talk about my work, I talk about my personal life, I talk about everything together, my faith, everything. But some people, they split that up into different buckets. Like this social media platform or this social media account is for this and this is for that. So it's really up to you. But the important thing is that you show up somewhere and you show up there consistently somehow. And so you have to know who you are, what you do, what you want to be known for. This is like the key parts, because once you've established this is who I am, these are the things I can do, these are the things that I do, these are the ways in which I can offer value to other people, then you need to now say, which one of these things do I want to be publicly, consistently connected with? And that's the positioning part. And then how do you want to share, which I'll come to later. And then the final question you need to ask yourself is, what and where do I want to share? And that is more around what you may call the marketing side of it, right? Then the next thing to think about is the skills that you currently have, what you currently know how to do is one part. But then you also need to think future. What do I want next? So if currently you are a writer, but then you want to switch to something else, yes, your personal brand may be being a writer, but you want to then start incorporating elements of what you want to do in future in your personal brand. So people are not only thinking about you as a writer from before, but also where you're going to as well. And so you need to ask yourself, how do I bridge that gap? What things do I need to learn? What do I need to do so that I can then share and position all of these things to position me for opportunities in a new place that I want to go to. Do you understand that? Is that clear? I need to see responses to be sure that you're still following me. Are we still together? Am I alone? All right, thank you, Indamola. Great. So this is something that I say and I stand by. You may have heard people say it's about who you know, right? When you want to, like, if you want to get opportunities and all of these things, it's not really about that, because you could know the person who can give you a job or who can recommend you for a job. But if they don't know what you know, if they don't know that you are skilled at this thing, then they can't help you, right? Because even when people give recommendations and referrals, their own credibility is at stake. If I refer someone for a job and they do a bad job, the person who I have so I am person A, and I recommend person B to person C because person B can do the job for them. If person C is dissatisfied with the work that person B has done, they will not take my recommendation seriously again. So even people giving you, people recommending you for things, they're also putting their credibility at stake. That's why people need to know what you do, what you can do, what value you can offer so that they can recommend you for opportunities, right? It's not about who you know, it's not about what you know. You could be the best artist in the world, the best writer in the world, the best graphic designer, the best engineer, you could be the best. But if nobody knows that you can actually do that work, they can't recommend you. It's the same way, like if you apply to jobs, but you don't show in your CV that you have the skills they're looking for, or in the interview, you don't display your knowledge of the subject area, then like they won't hire you. I mean, there are so many other things that go into interviewing that's not the focus of this talk, but like if you don't demonstrate the knowledge that you have, the skills that you have, the value that you have, then how would somebody know that you know those things and be able to hire you or recommend you for something? So now that we've established all of that, how do you actually then self-promote? Once you've defined how you want to be, what you want to be known for, what your goals are, who you are, where you want to do all of those things, how do you then self-promote? The first thing to think about it is that you're not actually promoting yourself. You are promoting your work. I know it's called self-promotion and personal branding, but it's not really about you. Because to be honest, nobody really cares. Like, like the people that care about you are the people in your life, your friends, your loved ones, all those kind of things. But the people that you're trying to get to hire you or to pay you for a service or whatever, it's not about you, it's about the value that you bring, the work that you've done. So even though it's called self-promotion and personal branding, it's not really about you, it's about the other people and what value they perceive that they can get from engaging with you. The reason why CAWSTEM invited me to give this talk is because they perceive that there's value that I have to give to you guys who are listening to me now. If they didn't believe that, I will not be here speaking to you. And if you don't believe that as well, you will not be here continuing to listen to me. The reason that you're here is not because of me. I'm sure many of you don't know who I am, but because CAWSTEM has said, Lade is somebody that you should listen to on this topic, you're here listening to me. If you had seen me somewhere else, maybe you just saw a post I posted, maybe you will not have paid attention. But because CAWSTEM has said, they have connected me, they are basically giving me credibility in your eyes because you trust CAWSTEM. And if they're telling you to listen to me, then maybe you feel like, okay, maybe you should listen to me, right? So that is like the credibility of it and the just the value of like showing people the value that you have to offer, basically. Now, the how. The 3-step framework, which I already talked about before, is to create, to collaborate, and to repurpose. And I'll go into detail about them. So that's one, just remember, create, collaborate, repurpose. And what are you creating? Like I said, it's not about you, right? Eventually, people want to know you. They want to like connect with you. But what people are more interested is in the value that you have to offer, right? And what does creating do for you? Creating helps you build a global network. Like I said in the beginning, the world is like really connected. There's the internet. People are connected to people. Like I'm connected to people that I've never met before in my life. People in other continents that I have and countries that I've never visited, just because of the internet and because we connected over something that the person created or something that I created or something that someone else created, and we both talked, like me and that other person, like talked about the thing that we saw that someone else created. So creation is a way to connect with other people. People come to you, somebody reads something that you read or watches a video that you made or listens to a podcast that you recorded or some other thing, and they come to you to say, I listened to this podcast, I read this thing, and I have questions about this, or this is a need that we have in my company or something. I worked with a company called InterSwitch in 2018. And the person who recommended me for that job, he worked at InterSwitch. I had never met him before, but he came to a talk I gave about UX research. And when InterSwitch was hiring for UX researcher, they reached out to me. At that point, they didn't even tell me. It's when I had joined InterSwitch that I found out that the person who referred me simply heard me give a talk once about UX research, and they were sold. And of course, I had to go through the interview process, but that had already helped me in a way because somebody had vouched for me internally, even though I didn't know the person. And that is the kinds of opportunities that you can get. I've gotten freelance opportunities, speaking opportunities, all these kinds of things just from people seeing these kinds of content that I have created. And like I said, when I was doing these things, I wasn't even thinking about personal branding. I'm just a person that generally likes to share. That's my personality. I like talking. I like sharing. I like sharing what I'm reading, what I'm learning, what I'm doing. I like that. And that's what I was doing. I was just writing about what I was learning. I was writing about what I was doing. And even funny enough, the talk that the person had was the very first talk I ever gave on UX research. And it was my manager that made me do that talk because I was like, I just started doing this work. Like I had, at that time, it was like barely a year or two. It was like a year-ish that I had started doing UX research. And it's like, I just started doing this work. Like, I can't give a talk. I don't know what like, this is so new. But I gave the talk and it went really great, and see what opportunities that led to. So even if you may feel like you don't know the thing, but talk about what you know to the level that you know. It doesn't mean that you're now displaying as an expert and you know everything in the world. You're just talking about what you know. And that's where authenticity comes in creating. You're literally just talking about what you know and what you are learning and what you think, like your thoughts on a matter. That's what you're not sharing, like what you think people want to hear or what you think people think about something. You're sharing about your thoughts, your work, your learnings, right? And another thing about creating content is that it helps you reinforce your knowledge. It helps you know that you know what you are talking about. Because to be honest, sometimes like when I give a talk for the first time, like the very first time I gave this Be Visible talk, I was a bit concerned, like, will people really understand what I'm saying? Am I saying this well? But when people gave me feedback like, oh, they understood this, it was that, and people asked questions, and I used that to continue to improve the talk. Like the first time I gave this talk, I didn't give it this way. But I've given this talk so many times. I'm more comfortable with the subject. I've learned new things. I've expanded how I give the talk, right? So that is what creating also does for you. And like I said, it's a way for you to connect with other people. Think about the creators you follow, whether on Instagram, on Twitter, TikTok, wherever you follow them, LinkedIn. You feel like you know them. You feel like you're connected with them. You feel like if I tell you that, oh, I'm trying to learn makeup, but I don't know what to do. If you follow somebody that talks about makeup, that teaches makeup, that does makeup, you won't recommend that person to me, even if you may not have actually worked with them. Like they may not have actually ever done your makeup, but you've seen them online in some way and you can recommend them to me. And the most essential thing about creating is that you should start where you are. Start with what you know, start where you are. You don't have to go and create an account somewhere that you're not already on, that you're not yet comfortable with, to start creating. You can start exactly where you are, what makes you feel comfortable. If you feel like you're more of a visual person, you like to create like things that you can post on Instagram, and you're on Instagram, start there. If you feel like you like to talk, you want to do a podcast or YouTube, do that. Start with what feels most comfortable to you. If it's a newsletter, if it's a Medium blog, if you want to do live webinars or IG Live or Twitter Spaces, just pick what you know is comfortable for you to start with, because that's what helps you stay consistent. If you jump in and pick one or two, maximum two places to start, because if you jump in too quickly and try to do 10 things at a time, you get burnt out, you get tired, you get disgruntled and overwhelmed really quickly. So pick you're comfortable one or maximum two platforms. I mean, you can try and do more than two, but like what I recommend for people who are just getting into this frame of mind is to start with maximum of two places. And ideally like of two different formats. So if you're going to do Instagram and Medium or something, like just somewhere that also helps you with like repurposing content as well. Or like Twitter, well, now that you can do long posts on Twitter, maybe Twitter is not great for, you can't really call it micro blogging anymore, but yeah, just like pick one or two platforms that you're comfortable with and start there. And the summary of it all here is that people want to hire who they know, even when they know you from an article or a YouTube video. Like there's just this sense of familiarity and knowledge, and it's just how the human brain works. Like is a human brain thing. Is not, there's nothing else to it. It's just how the human brain is designed. When you see someone often, whether in real life, when seeing can be like reading something that they write, you feel like you know them and you feel connected to them. And that makes you think of them more positively, at least depending on what you're reading or seeing from them. So if you don't like what you're reading from them, if you feel like they're doing bad work, then you will be the reverse. But I'm talking about in the positive case, right? When you view somebody positively, you view what they write, what they do, what they share very positively, you also have a positive estimation of that person and you feel more comfortable recommending that person for things, engaging with them, and so on. I talked about like how I got one of my jobs, and there are many other things like that. One time I did a LinkedIn post and I wasn't very active on LinkedIn then. And that's something I want to talk about, right? A lot of time when you create things, if you don't have 1,000 subscribers or 1 million views, you feel like, oh, nobody's watching this. Let me know. I shouldn't continue. It's not worth it. But I want you to know that you don't actually need 1 million people to view your content for it to be impactful for you. It may be one person who sees it that makes the difference. So it doesn't matter. Don't focus on all of those things. Just focus on being consistent in whatever channel that you're choosing to share and create content. So this is like the longest part of it because it's like the biggest part. And so we'll run through the rest of it now. These are some questions for you to ask yourself in thinking about what you can create. And I'll just give you a few seconds to read it. I'm not going to read everything out. All right, so I'm going to move on to any questions so far. I like to also take questions in the middle, so you can ask questions already if you have questions. But if there are no questions, I have a question for you. I want you to answer this one or two of these questions in the chat. So in the chat, I want you to tell me what you want to be known for, or what topics you're passionate or knowledgeable about, something you've learned recently, and how you can begin to share, like on what platforms, in what ways. I want to see that in the chat. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Are we still here? Modupa says what she learned recently is that people are actually watching and you might not know. Elaborating on the power of LinkedIn. I'd like to share more on quality assurance processes and methodologies. Want to know for cybersecurity. Start blogging, being a designer and a growth enthusiast. Cool. Right. So here you already have your topics, right? These are the areas. And then you need to then decide, what do I want to start sharing about these things? How can I begin to share them? And you can choose any platform really. Like LinkedIn is great, right? But you can really be anywhere. Just start where you're comfortable. And there's a principle that I love so much, and it's a biblical principle of come as you are and be transformed. So come as you are, start with where you are, and then as you're being more comfortable with creating and sharing, then you can try other ways of creating and sharing. So if you've been writing a blog for a while, or if you're already doing this, right? If you've just been focusing on maybe writing a blog or writing a newsletter, maybe try something new. Maybe try showing up on LinkedIn, or try doing a podcast or a YouTube channel. Try something new and begin to like explore other ways of sharing. And you can also share things you've already shared before, which takes me to the next step, which is repurposing. Repurposing is basically, so like the first step is to create. We've talked about why it's important to create, how you can start creating, all of those things. So repurposing, why should you repurposing? Why should you repurpose content, or why should you be repurposing things you create? Because it makes your life easy. It makes you less stressed. It makes you less burnt out. Repurposing is basically taking something that you've created and changing the format in which you share it again. So if you write a blog post today, you can make it into a newsletter. You can make it into a podcast. You can break it up into a thread. You can post it on LinkedIn. You can do so many things with it. I recently started doing a daily podcast. This year, I challenged myself to do a daily podcast. So 365 days of this year, I will publish a podcast episode. And today is day 59, I think. And I've done 58 episodes. I haven't published today's episode yet. And something that has really helped me is going back to all things I've written, things from my newsletter, things from my blog, things from threads I've tweeted that I remember, like I remember a keyword from a thread and I go and look for it and I record that on the podcast. On some days where I don't have the energy to think of something new, I just go back there and share, just record. But sometimes I read it out, sometimes I like update it, like say something new about it. But basically is the idea, the main concept and main idea is things I've already talked about in some way or another. And this Be Visible talk that you're listening to, I have a 5-minute version of it. Like I can give this talk in 5 minutes. I have this longer version of it. I have a workshop for it. I have an ebook. I have a checklist. Like there's so many ways you can propose content. There's no limits on that. So just explore. And the reason that this matters is because content is like energy. Like energy can change forms. First law, is that the first or second law of thermodynamics? I can't remember my basic science anymore. But yes, like energy, content can change forms. So it also helps like with your audience in associating, like it makes the association stronger for people. When people are hearing the same topics and themes from you in multiple places, on Twitter, you're talking about this, on LinkedIn, you're also talking about it, on Medium, you're talking about it, on YouTube, wherever, it creates a stronger association with you. And another way that something that can help you with creating content, which I should have talked about earlier, is like using templates, right? With my podcast, for example, I have a mental template of like what each episode should be like. And that helps me. In how I create the cover image, I have templates in Canva that I just change the copy in it. Like create templates where you can. It really helps you in you don't have to think so much. If you're creating visuals, pick your fonts that you always use, pick your colors that you like to use, like pick some colors, pick some fonts that you will always be using, because it just makes your life easier. If you're doing carousels, those kind of things, find templates that you like, stick to them. And that's also another way to help you with creating and reposing content. If you see something you like somewhere, save it somewhere, like create like a folder on your laptop or in your drive or something where you save inspiration, whether it's on wherever, whether Pinterest, wherever. Just pick a platform, pick one place where you write down your ideas and you save inspiration, because you have many ideas. Make it a habit of writing down your ideas that you have. That way you can develop them, you can think about them some other way in the future, because that's something that happens. You have an idea, you don't write it down, and then you're struggling trying to remember, oh, I had this idea, what was it? You can't remember. So write down your ideas, and that helps you with creating and repurposing. And so something you can start thinking about now is that if you already have content that you've created in some way, and don't think like content is not anything like serious like that. Like if it's a LinkedIn post that you wrote, that's content. If it's a tweet, that's content. If it is something you posted on Instagram, an Instagram caption or the picture itself, that's content. Literally anything you've created can count as content. So if there's anything that you have, like people that talked about some of the things they want to be known for, if you've written something about being a product owner, for example, or if you I'm trying to look for, like, Zolispa says she wants to be known for cybersecurity, right? Have you written anything before about cybersecurity? And it doesn't even have to be public facing. If it's maybe an assignment you did, maybe you did a bootcamp or a course and you had an assignment in it related to the topic, you can write about that. You can publish your assignment, like actually, like maybe you might need to edit it to make it more appropriate for the wherever you're posting it, but you can actually do that. You can publish things that you've written that you've never published before. Maybe something you submitted. If what you did for your undergrad is related to what you want to like do going forward, you can publish papers that you wrote in school. It's still part of the content. And you just think about, how can I improve this? How can I share this differently? How can I tweak this? And then you also need to think about, another thing Reproposing does for you is that you can go to platforms where your audience go to, right? What newsletters are they reading? What blogs are they reading? What podcasts are they listening to? What are they watching, right? And you can reach out to those publications as well to share things. If you're a UX designer, you probably know of UX Collective or Medium or Bootcamp. Those are like publications that people read. And then something else to think about when you think about publications is that you should publish not just where your peers are, like not just where other designers are, but where your target audience is. So for example, if you're a product designer, you want to work with a startup or whatever other kind of company, you want to work with a product, you probably work with a product manager or some other person. You want to go to where product managers are as well, not just where designers are. And that's the thing I notice people do a lot. Like you only go to, like, if you're a developer, you only go to developer meetups, or if you're a designer, you only go to designer meetups. Don't do that. Go to the places where the people who will hire you are. Go to founder meetups. Go to those kinds of places. Go look at the publications that they read. Where do founders read? Where do people who want to hire somebody who has the skills that you have, or who need the skills that you have, where do they go to? That's where you should also be going to and also be sharing and creating content for. And the final pillar of the 3-part framework is to collaborate. So you have creating, repurposing, and collaborating. And collaborating is like the cherry on top of the pie, right? Why do people say that? I don't think cherry is nice, but it just makes it sweet. And the benefit of collaborating is that now you're not just promoting your own self and your work, you're also promoting someone else and their work. You're exposing someone else to your audience, because no matter how small, you have an audience. Even if it's 100 people, even if it's 20 people, you have an audience. You have people who are listening to you somewhere, somehow. And you're now exposing other people by collaborating with them to your audience. And something that I notice people try to do a lot in collaborating is that they only want to collaborate with people who are far ahead of them, which is fine. But you are more likely to have success collaborating with people who are, all of you are like in the same phase, in the same place, right? So maybe you're a developer, you can collaborate with a designer to work on a project, and both of you are just like coming up in the industry, or you're both mid-level and you want to do something challenging, right? Collaborate with someone else. Maybe you can also collaborate with another designer to work on a project. You can collaborate with somebody to write a book, to teach a course. I collaborated once with another UX researcher. She's now more of a product manager, to do a UX research course, and we did it together, right? So collaborate with people. Collaboration can also be an IG live. Get people to like do IG lives together with you. Come on a Twitter space. Write on somebody's blog. Write in somebody's newsletter. And another thing that collaboration does for you, especially when you're trying to collaborate with somebody who is more senior in their career to you, is when you frame it as, I want to have this conversation with you in a public manner. So like maybe on IG Live, on Twitter, on where else do people have live conversations, LinkedIn Live, whatever, so that they can learn, right? You're framing it, you're helping people in that sense, because you're helping other people learn something, but you're also learning. That's one very important way to collaborate. So collaboration with people does not always look like working on a project together. It can be just simply doing an interview with them, featuring them somewhere, right? So just think about creative ways in which you can collaborate with people. One person I know that does this really well is, there's this newsletter called Lenny's Letter. And he also has a podcast, Lenny's Podcast, that goes to show you about repurposing content. And he recently published a book. I actually have the book here. And the book is literally, I don't know if you can see this because of the blur. Okay, let me remove the blur so you can see it. How do I remove the blur? Blur, okay, I removed the blur. So the book is literally a collection of the some of his newsletter episodes. And this is like a good example of repurposing, because it's literally all these essays are available online. But people will still buy the book because you have a collection of like the essays that they consider to be the best of the newsletter in one place. And why I actually started talking about Lenny is that in his podcast, he does this collaboration because he invites people who are doing many diverse things to ask them questions. So he's also learning from them, but then they're also sharing to a wider audience as well. And he also, so it's like what's the word? A virtuous cycle, because Lenny is being introduced to their own audience, because when they do those podcast episodes, they share it with people like, oh, I was on this podcast. And he has built the credibility of his podcast that way, because many people actually want to be on the podcast. But he's just having a great time learning from people. That's the purpose of him doing that podcast. He wants to learn from people who are doing great work in their industry and learn things about what they do and how they do it. Right. And yeah, so that's one way to collaborate. Now, if you want to collaborate with people, especially from the point of view of you want to work on a project together or something, you need to engage with them meaningfully. It's easier to get people to collaborate with you when they feel like they know you. Again, back to what I was saying in the beginning, when they feel like they have some kind of relationship with you. And something that I see people do often here is like you comment on somebody's LinkedIn post or Twitter post and be like, wow, great post, nice, well done. That is not engaging meaningfully. That is some kind of engagement, but it's not meaningful engagement. It's not the kind of engagement that gets you the kind of recognition that you want. It's not the kind of engagement that gets you the kind of connection that you want. So engage meaningfully is to ask meaningful questions. If someone says something, ask a meaningful question, make a meaningful contribution, go beyond nice post or well done or thank you, right? Those are nice, but those are not the kinds of ways to engage meaningfully. And if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. That's also fine. And some way you can do is like, if you read an article that somebody writes, right, you can share that article, but beyond just sharing it, you can then say like, I read this article and this was a highlight for me. This is something that I learned from this article, and you can tag the person. That is more meaningful than just saying, oh, read this nice article by this person. Do you get? So if you do that meaningful engagement consistently, people start to notice actually, like the people who have built relations. And again, when I was doing these things, I wasn't even thinking about personal branding or promotion. I was just doing, is looking back that I'm connecting the dots, that it was because I created this, it was because I collaborated with people like this, it was because I engaged with people like this, because I repurposed my content in this way. This is how all the pieces have added up. And so if imagine like what more could have happened if I had done it more deliberately. Now I'm more deliberate because now I can see these things, right? So engage meaningfully, volunteer with people. If like there's an opportunity to volunteer, definitely volunteer. Don't let people take advantage of you though. Like volunteering is tricky because people try to take advantage of young people who are trying to do things, but yeah, like just be careful with that. But volunteering is also a good way to collaborate with people. And you don't have to follow somebody on every platform to connect with them. I find that personally to be concerning. Like if I notice somebody follows me everywhere, like on every single platform, at the same time, I'm a bit concerned. It makes me scared. But you don't have to follow them on every platform. You don't have to create an account on every platform to connect with people and to engage meaningfully with them. But yeah, just like think of meaningful ways that you can collaborate, that you can volunteer, that you can assist to collaborate with people. And so these are some of the questions you can ask yourself about collaborating. Who can you collaborate with? So even think among the people in this CAWSTEM program, right? Who amongst them can you collaborate with? Can you collaborate with the designer who can create visuals for you? Can you collaborate with a writer who can do, like, just think about people who are in your program together. What skills do they have? What skills do you have? How can you create something together? How can you start something meaningful and do something together? And how can you engage meaningfully with someone who you follow or find inspirational? And again, you don't have to be like 100 years your senior. Like you can be inspired by your peers. I'm inspired by in fact, most of the people who inspire me are actually my peers. So yeah, find people that inspire you and connect with them and engage with them meaningfully and try and create something with them. And the final thing to note is as you try to repurpose content, create content, collaborate with people to create content or to do projects, everything must be valuable. And people define value in different ways. The value doesn't always have to be educational, like I'm teaching you 10 ways to do this or 15 ways to do that, or how I do this. That's just one kind of value or one way to create. Value can also be entertaining. People want to be entertained, they want to be educated, they want to be impacted. So those are the things you should think about when you're creating. And to tie a bow on it and bring us back to the beginning, your personal brand is about demonstrating the value that you have to give. And so when you think about that, is what do you want people to associate with you? And how can you start creating things and posting things and sharing things to demonstrate that value? And that is it for me. Any questions? Are we still together?
This was a very, very powerful session. Thank you.
There's a bit of an echo or something weird. I'm not hearing very clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, there's some background noise. Sorry.
Oh, are you still hearing the background noise?
Yeah, there's like an echo, like you're far, but like close. Is it?
Okay. So how about now? Is it much clearer?
Yes, it's clear now. The last bit of
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Yeah, so I was saying that this was really powerful and it was very insightful. Thank you so much for facilitating this session. On the call, while you were presenting your slide, Wamide is on the call. I don't know if she has anything to add to what I said. Wamide, are you able to speak?
Not really. I don't have anything to share. Just thank you, Lade. I have my young man with me here.
Okay. Are there questions from the mentees? Please ask question. No. Doesn't have to be a question. It could be an addition or maybe share your own experience. How do you intend to improve? Right? Just okay. Mojipe, please go ahead. You can speak.
Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you, Ma, Lade, for this presentation.
It's just Lade.
Thank you, CAWSTEM.
Just
Okay, thank you, Lade, for this presentation.
Thank you.
I actually find it really, really inspiring because where I'm talking now is because I just want to share my experience regarding how it is very important to create values and put oneself out there. So I just try to put a lot of my experiences and what I've been doing on LinkedIn. Of course, I don't post because the content aspect I want to do, but my experience is what I do, the skills I've gained. I said I'm currently working on getting better in content creation on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Putting myself out there. But still, despite not posting that much, my skills and experiences from previous workplaces are on LinkedIn. And my current role, that's how I got the job role. The hiring managers checked my profile, sent me a message and I'm interested in the particular role. In 2 days, I applied. I said I was interested. I sent my CV. And in a week, I did interview and I got the job. And it was paying like 3 times my current role at that time. So that's why I felt the power of LinkedIn and putting myself out there. So I really find it really impactful. And to get better, I would work on creating more content and putting myself out there more. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, and that reminded me of something I was going to say. Even this job that I applied and like from scratch, I said in the beginning that like apart from this job, I haven't actually gotten any job I didn't apply. People recommended me because they saw something that I did, even like the freelance work. this one, it was something, there's a resource that I created some years ago. And initially, it was just like, I created it for myself. It was a bookmark of links that I use to help myself with research, like things that I go back to, that I read, and all of that. And so I decided to publish it because people were asking me like, oh, if I need help with this, where can I check? So I just decided to publish it. And I still reference it even till now, and I keep updating it. And that's one of the things that they kept talking about on my team, like when they interviewed me, like that they really liked what I had done with that, and they liked how I had been sharing. So like these things are very important. Oyindamola, I didn't see your question, so you feel free to unmute if you want to ask your question.
All right, thank you, Mom. Okay, so I just want to ask that how best would you advise someone that wants to probably transition from a niche to another, if there is a need to?
Yeah, so if you want to transition, I think I touched on it a bit, is you need to think about what are the gaps, right? Where are you now? What skills do you have? What skills are you missing? What knowledge you need to gain? And how can you gain it? And then as you start learning in that new field, start sharing. Like you're not sharing as an expert, you're sharing as I am learning this. This is what I have learned. I did this course and this was the top 3 things I learned from the course. Do you get what I mean? Because as you start doing that, you're now building a new association for yourself with the new field. So now, for example, if I want to move from UX research, which I'm doing now, to like maybe product manager or data analyst, like I said, I've been sharing about UX research because that's what I've been doing. That's what I do. And also I share about like career branding, personal branding, career development, all those things. If I want to switch to data science or product management, I can take a course, right? I take a product management course, and maybe it's a 6-week course. Every week, I write, this week in my product management course, I learned about the importance of product management, basics, and these are the top 3 things. Next week, I learn about stakeholder management. So I write, as a product manager, I've learned that to be a good product manager, you need to be able to manage stakeholders, and these are some of the ways that you can manage stakeholders. Do you see what I mean? And that way, people now start to see me talking about product management more. And then they start to make that association that, oh, okay, Lade talks about product management more. So when they think about product management, they start to think about me as well. If somebody asks you, not like they're sitting in their house thinking about product management, but if somebody asks them if they know someone who does product management, right, then they can think of you. So if you want to transition from where you are to somewhere else, something that can really help you beyond learning, because it's very important to learn. Again, like I said, it's not about being an empty barrel. If you're an empty barrel, people will eventually know. And is embarrassing to everybody involved. So don't be an empty barrel. Actually learn as you're learning, share as you're learning, build stuff, do stuff, practice what you're learning, and talk about it. Talk about what you learned in the process of practicing what you're learning, right? And that's how you build that personal brand in that new space, even if you're still very new to the space. Right.
Okay, thank you, Lady. I have a question. So, for people that are not so, they're not big on writing and sharing, right? And you want to, build yourself. You know that if you don't put yourself out there, nobody's going to, nobody really cares about you. So how do you I know a lot of people, this is very new, a lot of people want to try it, myself included. And I would, so my question is that how do you, start and then stay consistent in as a beginner in this, trying to put yourself out there?
All right. So very good that you said consistency, because that's the key. And consistency doesn't mean you post every day. It means that you have a regular, so if you write a newsletter, for example, consistency can be you write it once a month. If you post on Instagram or if you tweet, it can be maybe you tweet every day, because tweeting is like not as mentally demanding and tasking as like many of the other ways of creating. So the first thing to know is everybody writes. You write, like whether you think you're a writer or not, you actually write. You write things every day. And you don't have to overthink it. I think we have this, like, we try to overthink, like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. No, like, just start. right? You know what you want to talk about. You know what you do. You know what you're learning, right? Even if you're not an expert, right? There's somebody that you know more than. There's one person in this world that you know something about more than them. And that one person is enough reason for you to write whatever you need to write about. And if you also think about the content that you're creating as helping other people, which is why I talked about value, whatever you're creating must have value. So if I'm writing about how to do UX research, it's not just because it promotes my brand, it's also because it helps somebody learn how to do UX research. And you may say, well, there are 100 articles on the internet about how to do UX research. There are two ways to look at that. First of all, okay, then my 101 article is not a big deal. The second way to look at it is also, maybe it's me. Like, you know how you can hear something multiple times, but then you hear it like the 20th time and it's like you've never heard it before, or there's like a light bulb in your brain. What if it's my own how to write UX research article that does it for somebody? So when you remove yourself from the equation and think about the other people, and again, it's not about you feeling like you are the answer to everybody's problem. It's about the fact that it's like, normally there are things that I've read multiple times that is maybe until the 8th time that I'm reading from somebody else that it connects. My friend was telling me that they were trying to some crypto thing. I can't remember what it was about, but something related to crypto. And they read like 8 articles by 8 different people. It was the 8th time that they finally understood what they were doing, like what they had to do. So you need to overcome that fear of my writing is not perfect. There are many tools that can help you improve your writing right now. Like, write as yourself. And then you can edit it. You can have somebody review it for you. You can have somebody give you feedback on what you've written. That is very helpful. But you have to start. You have to, like, there is no magic that can get you to start. You just have to start. You just have to make the decision to start, and you just have to start. There's only so much planning and thinking and preparing you can do. At some point, you must just start, because if you don't start, you're just going to be there thinking and planning and preparing. And I've talked before about how sometimes we hide our fears and our anxieties and our worries and our procrastination behind and planning. I need to plan out the content I'm going to post. I need to plan out this, which, yes, you need to do all those things. But if you don't eventually start posting, you're never going to start posting. You just need to start. There's no magic there. You just have to start. So that's why I say start from where you are. If you feel like maybe you're not the best writer, maybe start with doing Instagram Live. Even if it's one person that comes to Instagram Live or nobody comes, just keep doing it. Because like I said, it's about that consistency. It's not really about how many views you're getting. You're not trying to be an influencer, right? You're just trying to share knowledge, share value to people. So it's not about getting 1 million likes or 10,000 followers. Like, those things may or may not happen, but it's irrelevant to it may not, like, again, it depends on your goal. What is your goal, right? Your goal is, in this case, I believe that the goal is to build a personal brand. And your personal brand does not need you to have 1 million followers on Instagram or on LinkedIn or wherever. It's just about you showing up consistently in whatever format you can. That's why I said, come as you are and then be transformed. So start with where you are. When I first started doing all these things, because my background is originally as a writer. I've been writing on the internet for, I don't even know how long anymore. Since I was like 14 or 15. That's like over 10 years, almost 15 years. Yes, I've been writing on the internet for that long. So I was already writing. So it was easy for me to start with writing on Medium about those things. But then I tried other things. I started trying, like, doing workshops and giving talks and all those things. I wasn't doing that before. I was forced to give my first talk by my manager, but I tried that and I enjoyed it and I kept doing it. Then I did an ebook, and then I just start. I don't know how else to say this, but just start.
Thank you so much, Lady. This was very, very elaborate. Yes. So I guess that a lot of people would have, taken note of that. And this question is very personal to me. So I asked for myself. So I know that some people would,
No,
you know,
yeah.
have taken
Like,
that?
if you like to tweet, like just tweet about the stuff that you're doing and stuff you're learning, start with that. It's like just start small. You don't have to build a bridge in one day. Start small. And as you continue doing it consistently, you start to see new ways of doing things. And you can look up resources like things you can do. You can see what are other people doing and what can you learn from that? Where can you get inspiration from that? Right. And just start from there. If it's LinkedIn that you've decided that you want, like this year, I decided that LinkedIn is, I'm going to focus on LinkedIn this year. I used to post on LinkedIn, but I wasn't really like consistent with it. I wasn't really big on posting on LinkedIn. But this year, I decided that one of my goals for this year was to show up more on LinkedIn. And I'm doing that. In fact, I'm currently in the middle of a 20-day LinkedIn challenge where you have to post on LinkedIn every day for 20 days. Today is day 10, I think. So like you can do things like that to challenge yourself. Do a challenge with your friends, like post about what you do every day for a month or every week. Like just do something. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. This is noted. Do we have other questions or addition before we wrap this up?
Okay, if there are no more questions, I can share. I have a checklist that I created. I mentioned it for this visibility topic. I put the link in the chat. And it's a free checklist, so you don't have to pay anything. You can download it for free. But if you like the other stuff, which is not free, the other stuff is not free. But for CAWSTEM, I have created a 50% discount code for you guys, which is CAWSTEM. Like if you just go to the website and want to buy something that is not the free checklist, if you use the code CAWSTEM, you will get it for 50% off. I literally just did it now on the call, so it's not like I planned to do it before. Because I think it might help. If you feel like it might help you, then feel free to check it out. And I put the link to the checklist there because that one is free, so you can just access it on that page. Cool.
Thank you, Lade. So well, it's 7:45 already. So I think that we do not have questions. So thank you so much, Lade. We really, really appreciate, this having this session with you and, sharing very insightful, things with us. So we would bring this session to a close. Thank you so much, guys.
Anytime.
Yes. So I would like to announce that please do not forget to so the reflection sheets for this week has been released, I believe so, and the you guys would meet with your mentors and you guys can fill. So please, the reflection sheet should be filled before Wednesday. Yes, because it closes by Wednesday. Because a new sheet will be released on Thursday, which is for the new week. So if you have questions, you can reach out to Tomise or you can drop them on the chat box. So and this recording will be shared with you as well. So thank you guys. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.